friends, today I have come up with another important topic from the Indian Contract Act 1872, and that is minors agreement, or we can say nature of minors agreement. So let's start. As per section 11 of the Indian Contract Act 1872, to be able to enter into a valid contract, one of the essentials is the age of majority. It means that only a major can enter into a valid contract. A person who has not attained the age of majority is a minor, and an agreement entered into by a minor is void ab initio under the Indian law. As per section 3 of the Indian Majority Act 1875, a person is considered major if he or she has attained the age of 18 years. So, a person below the age of 18 years is minor under the Indian law. And an agreement entered into by a minor is void. So, when we talk about nature of minors agreement, then it is held in the case of Mohiri Bibi versus Dharmodas Ghosh in 1903 that an agreement by a minor is void. So, let us discuss in brief the case of Mohiri Bibi versus Dharmodas Ghosh. In this case, the plaintiff was a minor, and the minor plaintiff, he mortgaged his property in favor of defendant who was the moneylender to secure a loan. Subsequently, the minor, that is the plaintiff, brought an action against the defendant moneylender for cancellation of the mortgage on the ground that the mortgage was executed by him when he was a minor. Court held that plaintiff, the minor, could not be asked to repay the loan taken by him, as the defendant moneylender in this case knew about the minority of the plaintiff at the time of the mortgage. So the court held that the mortgage was liable to be cancelled as the plaintiff was a minor at the time of the mortgage, and the court further held that an agreement entered into by a minor is void. Hence, as per the case of Mohiri Bibi versus Dharmodas Ghosh, an agreement entered into by a minor is a void agreement. It is void ab initio, that is void from the beginning. Now, when we are talking about a minors agreement, another important aspect is the applicability of the principle of estoppel against a minor. Suppose if a minor represents himself to be a major and enters into a contract, then does the law of estoppel apply against him so as to prevent him from alleging that he was a minor at the time when the contract was made? Now, before answering this, let us first understand what the law of estoppel is. The law of estoppel is provided under section 115 of the Indian Evidence Act. As per this law of estoppel, if a person makes a statement today which misleads another person, then the person making the statement today is not allowed to deny the statement tomorrow when the question of his liability arises. Thus, the principle of law of estoppel prevents someone from arguing something or asserting a right that contradicts what they previously said or agreed to by law. Estoppel thus prevents one person from contradicting an action or a statement from the past. Now, coming to the application of doctrine of estoppel against a minor. So, as per the law, the rule of estoppel does not apply against a minor. A minor, suppose a minor enters into an agreement today falsely misrepresenting himself to be a major. Now, if a question of his liability arises under that agreement, the minor is allowed to plead minority as a defense. That means, to avoid the liability, the minor can claim that he was a minor at the time of the contract was entered into. So, the law of estoppel does not apply in case of a minor. Now, another important aspect is the minor's liability for necessaries supplied to a minor. As we have studied, a minor's agreement is void ab initio, and he is incapable of making a contract to pay for any services rendered or goods supplied to him. But there is an exception to this rule. That is, for the necessaries supplied to a minor, reimbursement is permitted under law. That means, if a person supplies certain necessaries to a minor, then that person is entitled to reimbursement. This exception is based on quasi-contractual obligation. Now, the provision for the minor's liability for necessaries supplied to a minor is made under section 68 of the Indian Contract Act. Let us first go to section 68. Under section 68, if a person is incapable of entering into a contract or anyone whom he is legally bound to support is supplied by another person with necessaries suited to his condition in life, the person who has furnished such supplies is entitled to be reimbursed from the property of such incapable person. Now let us understand this with the help of an illustration. A supplies B a lunatic with necessaries suitable to his conditions in life. That means B was a lunatic and A supplies certain necessaries to B. Now A is entitled to be reimbursement from B's property for all the necessaries he supplied to B. So a minor is liable for the necessaries supplied to him. Now, what does the word necessaries mean? The word necessaries here means all those things which are suited to conditions in life. It not only means the bare necessities of life like the food, clothing or shelter, but also all such things as required to maintain a person according to his condition in life. So, under the Indian law, any person who supplies the necessaries to a minor is entitled to reimbursement from that minor's property. So, this was all about a minor's agreement under the Indian Contract Act. I am repeating in a nutshell whatever we have discussed in this video. The first thing is that a minor's agreement is void. A minor is not competent to contract, and in the case of Mohidi Bibi versus Dharmodas Ghosh, it was held that an agreement entered into by a minor is void. The second important aspect is that the principle of estoppel under section 115 of the Indian Evidence Act does not apply against a minor. That means in any case in which the liability of the minor arises, the question as to the liability of minor arises, then the minor is entitled to plead his minority. So, the principle of estoppel does not apply against a minor. The third important aspect is that though a minor's agreement is void, but a minor is liable for all the necessaries supplied to him. Any person who supplies a minor with all the necessities suited to his conditions in life, then that person is entitled to reimbursement from the minor's property. So, thank you for listening, and in my next video, I will come up with another important topic from the Indian Contract Act. Please subscribe to my channel and kindly like and share my videos. Thank you.